My name is Matt Clemens. I am the Director of Admissions at the Harvard Kennedy School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I'll be sharing a little bit about the program today. I definitely want to answer questions that people have, and so I will try not to take up too much time with the presentation, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions. In terms of what the Harvard Kennedy School is about, we believe that there are many issues in our world today that need innovative leaders to help provide solutions, and those leaders come from all different sectors and varied academic backgrounds. Not all of our graduates go on to work in the public sector, but we do believe that our graduates, no matter where they work, are working on public problems and thus are leaders in the public arena no matter what field they may work in, whether that be private, not-for-profit, or government-related. The school overview is here. We have 4 master's programs. What you will not find on this slide is any information about our PhD programs. As strange as it may sound, PhD admission for the Harvard Kennedy School is not handled by the Harvard Kennedy School. Rather, it is handled by the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, or FAS. So we do have some information on our website on our PhD programs. There are 4 of them. But any questions regarding PhD programs should be handled through the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, and actually the name of the school is GSAS, or the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. If people have basic questions about the PhD program, I can attempt to answer them, but this presentation is focused predominantly on our master's programs. So we offer 4. You can see that we have a little over 900 full-time students. Varied work experience is demonstrated by our applicants. We have a very international population, and students come from all over the world, again, from all different academic majors. Generally, what we're looking for in our candidates is a strong commitment to public service, and this could be demonstrated many different ways. It could be demonstrated through activities in school, through work that is directly related to the public good, through not-for-profits, NGOs. If you are working for a private company, it may be work through your company, or it may be volunteer work. So because we want to train leaders who are committed to the public service, we are looking for some evidence of a commitment to public service in the past history of our applicants. Leadership ability is also something that we key in on. All of our programs do have a quantitative component. We believe that you need to be able to measure problems and to produce reports and to read statistics, and therefore some level of quantitative competency is definitely something that we are interested in. Our curriculum is very rigorous, and thus a strong academic background is something that we look for. And we're also very interested in creating a very active learning environment, which we believe is beneficial, or it's beneficial to have students from diverse backgrounds. So that can be, again, academic, it can be professional, and it can also be demonstrated by where candidates come from around the world. So we definitely want there to be a very active learning environment with people chiming in with perspectives from a variety of backgrounds. The 4 programs that we offer are here, and a basic synopsis is that the MPP program is predominantly for those who have a little bit of less experience, who are maybe early in their career. The MPA2 program does mandate that candidates have 3 years of full-time work experience, as well as some graduate level coursework. I would say half of the students in the MPA2 program probably already have another master's degree or are on their way to earning a second master or a first master's degree. The mid-career program is for those who have 7 years or more of work experience, and it is a 1-year program. And then our MPAD program is a 2-year program that focuses very much on development work, and it does have a strong quantitative component to it, which I will get into a bit later. So 3 of our programs are 2-year programs, and the mid-career program is our one-year program. When it comes to the MPP program, I said it was for those who are earlier in their careers, and you can see on this slide that work experience is not a requirement, but the average candidate who joins us has typically worked for 2 to 3 years. I would say that probably 7 or 8% of the students who join us each year have no work experience, meaning they're coming directly out of a college or a university. So it's very rare, it's not impossible, but typically individuals will have a couple of years worth of work experience. There is a core curriculum, which I'll get into. You can see the average age is around 26, and the average incoming class each year is about 227 students. That is a 5-year average. So over the last 5 years, if you average it all out, it's been 227 students per year. The curriculum, the first year is very structured. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen that we do have core requirements that every student must complete. There may be different levels. For example, economics, there will be more of a basic sequence and also an advanced sequence, and students will place into those courses based on exams that they take when they arrive on campus. And the first year will allow for some electives, but predominantly the time is spent in core requirements. The first year culminates with what's called Spring Exercise, and the point of that is to take all of the learning from the first year and put it into a real-world perspective. And so students are asked to address a real-world policy issue and present on that, and there's a few more details on that I'll get to in a few more slides. In the second year, you will choose your concentration, or what could also be known as a major, and you can see that they're listed here. A breakdown of the different courses is available on our website, and again, you will have the opportunity to take electives in addition to these concentration areas. And then during the second year, you also have to complete a policy analysis exercise. This takes the place of a thesis and is a real-world project that you complete with an outside client. So as I mentioned, the spring exercise culminates the first year experience. It lasts for 2 weeks. Students are broken into teams, and they will basically address a policy problem and present to a group of faculty who are basically representative of positions in the real world facing that problem. You can see at the bottom some of the issues that students have addressed in past years, and the whole point is to really prepare students to engage in a summer internship and to take everything that they've learned in the first year and actually put it into a real-world perspective, so that when they are doing their summer work, the skills that they bring to the client are evident, and they're able to address problems in a way that allows clients to have basically answers to problems that they are facing. The policy analysis exercise, again, candidates in our program do not write a thesis. A thesis is typically something that's more of a Master of Arts degree program. We are a professional master's program, meaning that we feel our job is to prepare people to go out and to solve problems, not really so much to research issues, although research is definitely a component of daily work, but it's to respond to challenges that the world is facing and to try to provide solutions. So you'll have a real-world client that you will work with. Most often this is done individually, but sometimes students will break into a team of maybe 2. And it will basically last for 15 weeks, and it culminates in a policy memo that is given to the client in order to help that client direct their policy objectives. Also, the goal of this is for the student to leave our program with a policy memo that they can show to a real-world client when they are interviewing. So not only will you be able to present your resume and your credentials, but you will also be able to show a real-world policy problem that you have addressed and the solutions that you have provided, so it helps to direct the interview process. The MPA2 program, the Master of Public Administration 2-year program, as I mentioned before, does have two specific requirements. The first is that there be a minimum of 3 years of full-time work experience at the time of the application deadline. The application deadline this year is December 4th. And so if a candidate was interested, they would have to have accumulated a minimum of 36 months of full-time work experience by December 4th of this year. Also, graduate level coursework is required, the completion of graduate level coursework, and that coursework should be similar to what would be found in the core curriculum of our MPP program. There was a slide earlier that covered some of that, topics such as economics, statistics, politics, leadership, ethics, those sorts of things. Some candidates will have already completed a master's degree, perhaps in business or engineering would be 2 examples. Other candidates will be on their way to completing a degree, and some may have started a master's degree program and for some reason or another decided to terminate that coursework and not complete the degree, and that would count as well. Because of the work experience requirement, the average age is a little greater than in our MPP program. The MPP is 26, the MPA2 program is 30, and the average incoming class over the past 5 years has been 71 students who have joined us each year. Because of previous work experience and previous graduate level coursework, you could describe the MPA program as more flexible. There is a minimum requirement of 2 courses from a policy area. The policy areas were listed on the MPP slide and are also available on our website. And although we do have core requirements, there is flexibility in choosing which class a student wants to take from the economics area, the management and leadership area, and the political thought area. So MPP candidates would be told basically which classes to take, although there are different levels of classes that students can test into. With MPA2 candidates, they have the choice of choosing classes within a particular distribution area. And then there are a lot more elective choices in the MPA2 program because, again, of the work experience and the previous graduate level coursework that has been completed. The mid-career program is a 1-year program. The minimum work experience requirement is 7 years, and the average work experience of a candidate coming into the program is 14 years. You can see the statistics, the average age, 39, the incoming class size is typically around 200, and there are actually 2 divisions of the mid-career program. The mid-career MPA is for students from advanced economic countries, and the Mason program is predominantly for those for countries that are in the process of industrializing their economies. And there is actually a list of countries that each program represents within the application, and we will actually be posting that on our website soon. Our application for admission is not yet live, but should be within the next week for applicants to start applying by the December 4th deadline. All mid-career candidates join us prior to the beginning of the academic year. The academic year starts in September, but mid-career candidates will actually join us in the month of July for a pre-program, and that pre-program for the Mason candidates typically lasts for 6 weeks, and the program for the standard mid-career applicants will last 4 weeks. There's been a short break, and the academic year begins in September, generally the day after the American holiday Labor Day. This year, our classes, for example, began on September the 3rd, Tuesday, September 3rd. For mid-career individuals, because of the extensive work experience, you could also say that similar to the MPA2 program, it's a bit more flexible. There are different distribution areas that need to be fulfilled, and you can see them on the screen. But again, students will have choices. And then the rest of the curriculum is fulfilled by electives, and there are actually no major requirements that would need to be fulfilled similar to the MPP and the MPA2 program. Mid-career candidates have a choice, oftentimes working in consultation with faculty and career services and alumni as well to determine the courses that are most relevant for the development that they are seeking in our program. The MPID program, MPID International Development, is our most rigorous quantitative program. There are actually prerequisites related to quantitative coursework that do not exist for our other programs. While we highly recommend quantitative coursework for our other programs, there are no specific requirements, but you can see here the prerequisites for the MPID program are actually quite extensive. College-level coursework related to microeconomics, macroeconomics, and multivariable calculus. Typically, multivariable calculus is the third class in a college-level calculus sequence. And statistics and linear algebra, as you can see, are something that they are interested in seeing but are not required. The statistics on the bottom show that, yes, most candidates have worked for a few years. The average age is 27, and the average incoming class over the past 5 years has been around 70 students. And the MPID curriculum is basically focused on helping people address situations in developing countries to help the economy prosper for economic development and to provide specific policy recommendations regarding development issues in countries. There is a required summer internship. You can see a couple of them listed on the screen. And similar to the MPP program with the PAE, the Policy Analysis Exercise, the MPID program calls theirs a second-year policy analysis. And it is a paper that is designed to, again, provide students the opportunity to work on a real-world problem and provide solutions, proposed solutions for that. And when candidates go into a job situation, a job interview situation, they have the ability to share this to show that not only did they take courses on a variety of subjects and possibly learn some theoretical solutions to problems, they've actually explored real problems and provided solutions to them that are not just theoretical, but that are based on statistics and actual research that students have done in the program and hopefully also through their summer internships. We do have joint and concurrent degree programs. The basic difference between the two is joint degrees are formal relationships that we have with two other Harvard schools, and there is typically a very structured curriculum that students must follow. And then we have concurrent degrees. These are looser programs. The curriculums are not as structured, and they can be with schools both inside and outside of Harvard. There are 14 schools that make up Harvard University, and you see some of them listed here that would provide candidates the opportunity to get 2 degrees from Harvard. The model for both of these, for both the joint and the concurrent programs as far as admission is concerned, is that a candidate would have to apply for admission to both schools and receive offers of admission from both schools. And then once that happens, the flight plan, or how the student will spend their time, is set up. The Harvard Business School, for example, if you are interested in that program, you would have to apply to both the Harvard Kennedy School and to the Harvard Business School. There are 2 separate committees. The business school has their own committee and we have ours. And if a candidate was admitted to both programs, they would be required to start at the Harvard Kennedy School. Year 1 would be spent at HKS. Year 2 would be spent at HBS, and the last year would be split between the 2 schools. So there is a very structured curriculum. With concurrent degrees, if someone were to apply, for example, let's say to Dartmouth Business School and to the Harvard Kennedy School and be admitted to both programs, the candidate can begin their program at the school of their choice. They could begin at Harvard or they could begin at Dartmouth. The program would be 3 years in length, but there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of, again, what we call the flight plan, or where the candidate will be spending their time. One unique feature of Harvard as well, and being in the Boston area, is the ability to cross-register with other schools, whether they be Harvard schools or other schools in the area, such as MIT or the Tufts Fletcher School. We very much encourage our students to explore courses outside of the Harvard Kennedy School, and probably 30 or 40% of our students, while they're enrolled, will choose to do this. And you will also find candidates from other schools enrolled in classes at the Harvard Kennedy School. So you will not only be taking classes or sitting in class at the Harvard Kennedy School with other Kennedy School students, but there will also be students from other programs. We feel this is very beneficial to the learning environment and provides an additional networking opportunity and also the ability to learn from others with varied experiences and backgrounds. When it comes to admissions, our #1 resource is most definitely our admissions blog. If you want to find out what's going on in our office, you want updates, interviews with students, alumni, information about financial aid, the admissions blog is definitely something that you want to subscribe to. You can see the address on the screen. It's very easy to follow. In terms of planning, we do have some requirements for our programs. Tests, the GRE, the GMAT, and the TOEFL, or IELTS will be dependent on individuals' backgrounds. For example, we do require the TOEFL or IELTS of any candidate who does not speak English as a first language, but there is an exemption for those who have completed a bachelor's degree in English. And we do, in India, I know it's very common for there to be 3-year bachelor's degrees, and we do accept 3-year bachelor's degrees. And if a candidate was born and did not speak English as a native language but enrolled in an Indian university where English was the language of instruction and they completed the program, we would not require the TOEFL. We would still require the GRE or the GMAT for all of our programs except for our Mason program. The Mason program is the one program at present where we recommend a GRE or a GMAT, but we do not require it. Academic transcripts are something that are obviously required. We encourage candidates to start compiling that information early. Recommenders, there are 3 that candidates need to get. And when it comes to the application process, everything can be done on the internet. Nothing needs to be sent to us via mail. Letters of recommendation can be uploaded by the recommenders to the website. Transcripts can be scanned and uploaded. Essays can be uploaded. So everything can be done on the internet, and we try to make it as convenient as possible. I mentioned earlier, the deadline is December 4th, and I've been going over these requirements, the transcripts, the 3 letters of recommendation, resume requirements. Each program has different resume requirements. We recently published an admissions blog entry going over this, and they will also be included, the specific requirements obviously, in the instructions on the application. Same thing with essays. There are different essay questions for each program, and then I was talking about the test scores as well. If you want to get a preview, you can visit our website to view the particular requirements for each program. Financial aid is definitely something that many students or applicants have questions about, and the way the process works at the Kennedy School is you apply for admission, and shortly after you will apply for financial aid. Our financial aid consideration process is the same for domestic and international students, although international students do not qualify for federal aid through the United States government. Our fellowships are available to candidates no matter where they're from. There will be some fellowships that do have restrictions, what are called restricted fellowships. You may need a U.S. citizen, for example, according to the requirements. And then we also have what we call unrestricted financial aid, which is available to candidates from any country, and that is the majority of our fellowship budget. We definitely encourage candidates to view our website early to learn more about potential opportunities and to explore the options that are out there. But admissions applications begin due in early December. The financial aid application will be released shortly thereafter. Admissions decisions are released in the month of March. We do not have what we call rolling admission, where we review applications and release decisions as we make them. We release all of our decisions at one time for each program. And shortly after admission letters go out, financial aid packages will be released. So it's a little bit of a staggered process, and more information is always available on our admissions blog if you have questions. In terms of financial aid assistance, these graphs will give you a brief overview of the aid that is available through the Kennedy School. You can see the percentage of admitted students who receive financial aid from the Kennedy School, and you can see the average amount of aid that is allocated to those percentages of students, and all of these statistics reference the fall of 2012. Every candidate is an individual. Circumstances will vary. These are just averages, and they give you a sense of the kind of aid that is available. Because we're a school of public service, we do want to provide opportunities for students when they graduate, if they have debt, to receive assistance from Harvard. So we do have what we call our loan repayment assistance program, and that's available for all students. If you are in a public sector or a nonprofit job and you meet the requirements, we will actually help pay back your loans. And you can see the breakdown of loan borrowing by domestic and international students on the left. Again, these are referencing fall of 2012 information. The Office of Career Advancement helps students with career coaching and looking for jobs. I will make it very clear that it is not a career placement office. It is a career advancement office. Their job is to help individuals think about their futures and to strategically plan for their future and to develop the skills necessary to look for jobs. But again, we do not place students in jobs. We will assist students in finding jobs, and that's done through a variety of resources. There is Jobs and Careers for Kennedy School, which is a dynamic database that our students and alumni have access to. We do have employers who will visit campus and perform recruiting. The Alumni Network is a wonderful resource. We have over 50,000 alumni from our program that students can network with. And then we also have, obviously, faculty and others. Most jobs that students get, or when we talk to students about the jobs they get, are through networking, and that is definitely something that the Office of Career Advancement will assist students with in providing advice on how to take advantage of the different Harvard networks. The economy, the economic downturn that occurred in 2008 didn't really impact our employment rates post-graduation, which was something that we're happy to see. Over 90% of our graduates typically report what they're doing within 6 months, and most of them are finding jobs with varied employers. It's not like all of our graduates are working at employers that hire many candidates from the Kennedy School. It's typically a single hire, although some organizations will hire multiple candidates who have graduated from the Kennedy School. But it basically shows that there is a wide array of opportunities that our students will take advantage of, and they are not always in the public sector. You can see by this graph that there is a wide distribution of where our students go, and we do believe that we definitely want students who leave our program to be involved in private sector jobs that relate to the public good. You can see that approximately 35% of those who reported in 2012 were working in the private sector, and then there was a wide distribution within other sectors as well. One thing I'll mention that pertains to this as well on the admission side is if you were to look at incoming admission statistics, it would be very similar to what you see on the screen now. The number of candidates coming from the private sector is roughly 30% each year, and then there is a very wide distribution from the NGO, intergovernmental organizations, and the public sector. So the post-graduation employment statistics look very much like admission statistics in terms of professional background. The statistics here show 58 different countries is where our students landed, and our graduates landed in 2012, and the jobs are definitely dispersed all over the globe. When it comes to student life on our campus, there's lots of different opportunities for students to get involved in different opportunities that are related to subject areas or policy areas. What we call professional interest councils will focus on different issues that are important to students. There are over 80 professional interest councils, and there is a list on our website. Through these councils and also through the student government, there will be many different conferences each year that focus on different issues. There are treks around the world where students will get together and go to different areas and meet with alumni and different public policy organizations and focus on learning more about different issues. There are journals, and again, the student government is a wonderful way to get organized into different student groups. One of the things that makes the Kennedy School unique is the number of people who come and speak each year, and that takes place to the John F. Kennedy Jr. Forum. I will note that if you go to our website, you can view a history of those who have spoken, and most of those who speak are recorded, and so you can view these, and they're also streamed live. So if you are interested in watching someone speak live, you can definitely do that, and if you can't make it, most of the sessions are recorded and can be watched at your convenience. You can see a few of the statistics of those who have come. One of the things we do like to make sure is that speakers will answer questions from the audience, and these questions are not scripted, and it provides for some very interesting conversations. Again, more information is available on our website, and here are just a few of the different topics that have been covered in the forum in recent years. The forum seats about 700 people. Some events are ticketed, and you have to enter a lottery. Other events don't require tickets, and you can just show up and attend. Will obviously be determined based on the level of interest. We measure across campus based on the topic and the speaker who is coming. What drives a lot of the coursework at the Kennedy School, the majors that our students study, are our research centers. You can see a list of them on the website. There's lots more information. Basically, the point of this slide is that there is a lot of opportunity for students to study different policy issues. We are not a school that focuses just on U.S. policy. It's very much a school that is focused on global public policy issues. They do provide funding, the centers do, for fellowships and internships. There's leadership programs, mentoring programs, research projects, so it's a wonderful opportunity to get involved with leaders in the community. And for 60 years, or over 60 programs are available through these centers that focus on different issues. So whether or not you're interested in science and technology or human trafficking, whatever the particular issue you may be interested in, there's likely a program that is focused on that, and more information can be obtained through our website. This concludes my formal comments. I definitely welcome candidates to contact us if they have very specific questions. You can see the email address here that you can contact us at, and our phone number as well. I would like to thank everyone who has taken the time to listen, and I'd be happy to answer questions that people may have based upon either something I've covered or other things that I've not covered in this presentation. So Syed, I could use your assistance on how we can go about doing that.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Certainly, we are ready to take the questions. I'm already getting some of the questions on our Facebook page and in my email box. I'm putting the chat box window here. Now, participants, you are free to post your questions in the chat box. I don't see any question at the moment, I think. Yes, here is Etisham saying, I'm an undergrad student from India. Does admission to the MPP require a 4-degree bachelor's degree? I think that question has already been answered, right, Matt? You accept 3 years bachelor's?
We do. We accept 3-year bachelor's degrees, and a candidate can be in pursuit of their graduate degree, or sorry, their undergraduate degree at the time they are applying. So, for example, if someone was completing the last year of their undergraduate degree right now, and the application deadline is December 4th, and their graduation will occur in 2014, it is okay for candidates in that situation to apply to our program. It would be very rare. Again, maybe 10% would be granted admission to the program, but we do accept 3-year degrees, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. There's a question on GRE, how much GRE is required, but I think I want to expand this question. Matt, how important are different components of applications are?
Okay, definitely a good question. The one word that I would use to describe our admissions process is holistic. And so we do not use a matrix or a mathematical formula to make our admissions decisions. We look at each and every aspect of the application, and we're primarily concerned in 2 different things. Number one, is the candidate capable of succeeding in our program? Our program is quite rigorous. The classes move very fast. The English spoken is very high level, and candidates need to be able to keep up. And so the first question we typically will ask ourselves in looking at a candidate's application is, do we believe what we see in the test scores and the transcripts, the recommendations, gives us confidence that people can handle the program? The second question is the candidate an appropriate fit for our program? And this goes back to our mission. Our mission is public service, and therefore we look for candidates with previous public service experience, volunteer work, advocacy for different causes, a theme of wanting to assist individuals individually or broadly, or to make a difference within systems for the public good. So when it comes to the GRE scores, I would say that for our 2-year programs, for the MPID, the MPA2, and for the MPP program, because candidates are generally a bit younger and closer to their academic, to completion of their academic programs, probably anywhere from 1 to 5 years out, we do expect that the performance on the GRE would be a bit better than our mid-career candidates who may have been out of school for over a decade. So we like to see scores in the top 20th percentile. We generally don't look at the individual score, we look at the percentile. So if someone were to score in the 85th percentile, that means 14% of test takers performed better and 84% performed worse. And that would be in the top 20th percentile of test takers. And that is generally the range we hope to see. It does not mean that we will not admit a candidate if they do not score in the top 20th percentile. But what it means is that we will start to look for evidence of competency in the application to address our question of whether or not candidates will be able to succeed in our program. For international students, we do understand if English is not the first language, the top 20th percentile ranking isn't as applicable to the verbal and writing sections. It's more applicable to the quantitative section, the math section of the GRE or the GMAT. So again, top 20th percentile is what we hope to see on the GRE or the GMAT, especially for the quantitative. If candidates score lower than that, it does not mean that we automatically reject them or do not consider them, but we would be looking at their academic transcripts, their letters of recommendation, and their resume to determine if there is other information that gives us a level of confidence that students can succeed in the curriculum. When it comes to the IELTS or the TOEFL, generally speaking, we do rely a bit more on those than we do on the verbal and writing scores. Not that the verbal and writing scores of the GRE and GMAT are not important, but you could say we place a little bit more weight for those who do take the TOEFL and IELTS on their performance on those exams. We do have a minimum on both of those exams to consider a candidate for admission. On the IBT, the minimum score is 100. And on the IELTS, the minimum score is 7. So you must have a score of either 7 or a combined score of 100 on the TOEFL IBT in order to be considered for admission.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. And an interesting question coming on our Facebook is, what is one of the biggest myths about the Harvard Kennedy School that you see in students, particularly international students who apply for the admission?
I guess one of the myths is that we have quotas, that we look for a certain number of candidates from particular countries or even backgrounds. That's certainly not the case. We don't place quotas. Each year is very different, and we look to create the most diverse class possible, would be one myth. Another myth is that individuals either have to have come from the public sector or plan to go into the public sector when they leave the program. We do have very compelling candidates from backgrounds such as finance and banking and consulting or technology, and in their application they're able to demonstrate why they believe their previous path and possibly their future path is going to be beneficial to the public good. So we very much enjoy seeing applications from applicants with very diverse backgrounds, because we want the classroom to be a very, very diverse discussion about how technology, the military, finance, banking, housing, urban development, education, healthcare, all of those things relate to one another and can help contribute to the public good.
Okay, interesting. And a related question is, what are some of the mistakes that you see students make when they apply for the admissions at the Harvard Kennedy School?
So this is definitely something that we offer a lot of advice on the admissions blog. Last year, for example, I ran a series where I reviewed essays written by applicants in the previous year, and I offered a critique, and I will be doing that again this year. So I would say one of the biggest criticisms I would have of those who apply is that the personal statements or the essays that we require, the applicants will make them look like their resume, and that is definitely a huge mistake. We do not want the essays to provide us with information that is readily available in other parts of the application. We want to see basically passion and purpose and what the applicant's future goals are. So we could say that the essays might include a reference to information in the resume or in other parts of the application, but we don't want it to duplicate information that's located elsewhere. So the essay is definitely the most important part of the application, because we actually don't require interviews. You can consider the essays to be your interview with the admissions committee, and we need to get a very strong sense of what drives the applicant and what the applicant hopes to do when they leave the school. We understand that ideas may still be formulating, but we at least need a strong sense of the direction in which the applicant is going. And when it comes to letters of recommendation, we generally favor 2 professional letters of recommendation and 1 academic letter of recommendation. There's no absolute requirement, but because we are a professional school, we do value professional letters of recommendation, and we would consider letters from internship supervisors to be professional letters. So choosing your recommenders is something that you should definitely put a lot of thought into. And I also encourage applicants to have extensive conversations with the recommenders about their goals and about their objectives, because we like to see letters of recommendation that relate to what the applicant wishes to do in the future. And hopefully the letter of recommendation writer would include references to particular skills that would be beneficial in those future pursuits. So I guess the number 1 thing is wisely writing the essays for the application, and again, a lot of advice regarding that is offered on our admissions blog. Number 2 would be appropriate recommendation selections. And number 3 is simply just following instructions and meeting deadlines. Each year we have many panicked applicants who are contacting us at the very last minute, for example, telling us that they can't get their transcripts from their university because their university is on holiday, or a letter of recommendation writer will not be able to do it because they have been called into an emergency meeting. These are not really acceptable excuses for the late submission of documents. Our deadline is very strict, and if it means that you need to encourage a letter of recommender to submit their letter a month before the admission deadline, we encourage you to do that. Applicants should be getting transcripts now, 3 months, 4 months ahead of the application deadline, because we take our deadline very seriously.
Okay, thanks, man. That was wonderful. That was a great piece of advice. Passion and statement of purpose, as opposed to just reproducing their resume. Another question that came in our chat is, if someone is interested in social innovation and development finance, how would the MPA compare against the MBA?
Okay. Well, one of my common answers to that question is choosing a graduate program is largely based around who you want to spend time with. And what I mean by that is your fellow students. Business programs and policy programs have graduates that go on to do very similar work. And so you will have many Kennedy School graduates who will go on to work for consulting firms, or will be doing social entrepreneurship type work, looking for venture funding to solve problems that relate to public policy issues. Business school candidates will be doing that, and Kennedy School students, policy school candidates, will be doing the same thing. But what you'll find, I believe, when you look at the environments of the schools are the topics of discussion. At the Harvard Business School, for example, everything is pretty much focused on the private sector as far as the core curriculum. Yes, they are starting, because of the renewed interest in social entrepreneurship, to offer courses in those areas. And oftentimes, Harvard Kennedy School students will cross-register for business school classes, and Harvard Business School students will cross-register for Kennedy School classes. But what I hear a lot from students is that the environment in the Kennedy School classrooms is different in the sense that the backgrounds are more diverse at the Kennedy School. Predominantly, those in the business school programs are coming from the private sector and have private sector backgrounds, whereas at the Kennedy School there's more of a distribution across sectors. So you'll be talking to people from a wide variety of areas. When it comes to coursework, both business programs and policy programs are prepared to help individuals pursue pathways related to social entrepreneurship. And it would be up to the candidate to determine whether or not the courses, you can view all Kennedy School courses on our website. Our class directory is open to the public. And so if you want to perform a search on classes that have social entrepreneurship in them, you can do that. And a good way to do that would be to go to the business school or Harvard Business School or whatever business schools and look at the courses and compare them to the Kennedy School to determine if you believe the policy school offerings are more viable for your career objectives, or if the business school is more viable. So a personal comparison would be very wise.
Okay, wonderful. This is an interesting question. The student is saying that there is a lot of emphasis on social challenges and solving social problems at the Kennedy School. And the question is, what are some of the initiatives that are there for students to participate on campus in terms of social enterprise and solving social problems?
Okay. So I guess I would highlight 3 different opportunities. One is, I talked in the presentation about there are 15 different centers on our campus, And within those 15 centers are 60 different programs. And there is a listing on our website of these different programs. And they focus on very specific issues. I was rattling some of them off earlier: healthcare, human trafficking, environmental challenges, to name a few. So the centers, what they do is the faculty are organized around the centers. We don't have traditional academic departments. We have functional areas. And so if we have a faculty member whose specialty is in social entrepreneurship, they will be affiliated with a center or a program that relates to their particular niche of social entrepreneurship. And so the centers provide a wonderful way to interact with the subject matter, and those centers also have their own budgets to bring in professional fellows. Each year, there are over 200 fellows who are on our campus, and these are professional practitioners who join us for anywhere from 15 to 30 weeks, and their job is to interact with students. They have study groups, they have seminars, they have sessions, they team teach classes with faculty, and the whole point is to bring professional knowledge to the Kennedy School. And so the centers is one. Two are student groups. There are over 80 different student groups that focus on functional policy areas, and they will organize conferences, they will publish journals, they will have seminars and study groups, and the whole point is to give students the opportunity to focus on a particular policy issue that is of interest to them. And third, there are joint councils and joint conferences. So the business school and the Kennedy School students may put on a joint conference that focuses on a particular policy issue. The law school and the Kennedy School will get together and have joint conferences. And so through the centers, through the student government, and through joint opportunities through the different schools, students have the opportunity to interact with individuals that are focused and other students on particular policy issues.
Right. And talking about conferences, I remember I attended Social Enterprise Conference on Harvard's campus. Do you want to briefly talk about it, Matt? What is it about? Just to give the sense of what are these conferences about.
Sure. So there will be various conferences every year. I would say probably anywhere between 50 to 60 conferences per year that will focus on a particular topic. And typically what will happen is we will invite special speakers to come, and the faculty will serve as MCs on the panels, or they will basically lead the panel in questions that students are bringing up in classes. Certainly there are opportunities for live question and answer, but oftentimes what faculty will do is they will take surveys in their classes of the types of questions that students have. They will then target particular thought leaders and particular action leaders and try to bring them to campus as a part of the conference so that students have the opportunity to hear directly from people who are involved in the policy area right now that is of interest to them. And certainly social policy issues, social entrepreneurship are very, very common. But conferences can also focus on very specific issues that are related to a particular region or a particular country or a particular functional area. I would say most conferences are probably 2 or 3 day events, and it really is a great opportunity for students to take the academic learning in the classroom and juxtapose it against the ideas that are being expressed by the thought and policy leaders who come to campus to talk about the issues that they're involved in.
Okay, let's take this question in the chat box. It says, if students have not studied economics at the undergrad level, how can they make up for this deficiency? And what other programs can they take up for this purpose?
Okay, so there are some individuals who are very gifted in mathematics or quantitative methods who for some reason aren't interested in studying that in college, and they may perform very, very well on the GRE or the GMAT. So if somebody, for example, studied political science, and as a part of the political science program they never took economics, maybe they never took statistics, but they take the GRE or the GMAT and they score very, very high, let's say in the top 10th percentile. That may give us confidence that this individual does indeed have quantitative abilities. They just didn't take coursework at the college level because of other interests or whatnot. On the other hand, you could have an individual in a similar situation who does not score as well on the GRE or the GMAT and did not take a quantitative curriculum. In such a case, we encourage applicants to take college-level courses after graduation. So if someone graduated, let's say 2 years ago from college and is interested in applying to the Kennedy School, it's very beneficial to take courses from a college that relate to mathematics, statistics, or economics. And in order, I would say that mathematics is definitely the most important because underlying statistics and economics is mathematics, and our teachers, our faculty will say that we are not math teachers, we are statistics and economics teachers, but everything we do is based upon math. And so they would much rather see a very, very skilled student related to linear algebra, trigonometry, and calculus coming into the classroom who perhaps had no economics coursework than someone who maybe took a more of a theoretical economics class or a regional economics class that did not really have math but more had economic theory. Because when that person gets into the classroom, they're going to struggle with the math, and the faculty don't want to be slowed down by that. So if a candidate wants to improve their chances of admission and they did not have a quantitative background in college, I would definitely recommend studying extensively for the GRE and the GMAT, and also enrolling, if possible, in college courses. Night and evening weekends or weekend classes are very common if you have a full-time job. Online coursework is becoming more common. We typically prefer classes that are face-to-face, but we do understand that some candidates are in a situation based on their location where they will only be able to take online classes. In such a case, we would definitely recommend that students try to target programs that are more well-established and affiliated with established universities. But online courses are definitely something that candidates could pursue as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question in our chat box is how much does a low GPA in the undergrad degree affect a master's degree aspirant chance?
So this goes back to my reference to our admissions process being holistic. And the general advice I can offer is, first of all, we look at strength of schedule. How difficult are the classes that this candidate took? And we are much more interested in major GPA than in overall cumulative GPA. We could have a candidate who had a very, very impressive GPA, but maybe we consider the coursework that they took not to be as challenging as a candidate who perhaps had a lower GPA, who may be much more attractive to us because of the rigor of the coursework taken and perhaps because of the diversity of the coursework taken. Overall GPA, not necessarily something that is of interest to us. We're more interested in the major coursework taken, the major GPA, and also the rigor of the courses taken. When it comes to younger candidates, it is true, or less experienced applicants, we do pay more attention to the academic transcripts because there's less work experience. For candidates who are applying to our mid-career programs who may have graduated 10 or 15 years ago, we pay a little less attention to the GPA perhaps and more attention to the professional work experience. It's not to say that we will ignore either in both cases. We don't ignore professional work experience with less experienced applicants, and we don't ignore academic performance. But you could say that everything is relative. We're looking for the ability to succeed in the classroom, and we do not, again, have a mathematical formula that we use. We do not use grade point averages to make a determination of whether or not a candidate is admissible. We will dig more deeply into the transcripts to determine whether or not we feel the coursework taken and the major grades achieved. We give a little bit more flexibility outside of the major. We do like to see candidates have diverse interests, and if a political science major took a physics class, we consider that to be interesting. It's going beyond maybe what your interests are, and if the grade in the physics class was not as strong as the classes in the majors, that might be just fine. We value that academic curiosity to go into different areas. So we definitely encourage our students to be curious when they're pursuing their classes. Don't just choose easy classes where you're going to get good grades, but definitely be curious in terms of the courses and the diversity that are taken.
Okay. A slightly different kind of question here. It says, can you give us some sense of the work background that successful applicants come from? And what kind of jobs do they take up, or what kind of work do they do after they graduate from the Kennedy School?
Okay. The good news is that we have this information available in great detail on our website. If candidates go to our website and visit the Office of Career Advancement section, there is a report that you will find that catalogs many different statistical examples of where our students go, and gives examples of organizations where our graduates go on to work. You could say that it's very much dependent on the individual. Our goal is not to get students into particular employers. Our goal is to train students in a particular skill and then let that drive who they will end up working for. You'll find students, when I was displaying the statistics earlier in the presentation, it's roughly 30-30-30. About 30% of our graduates go on to work in the private sector, 30% in the public sector, and 30% in the not-for-profit sector. And we like to see that. We believe that stable financial markets are an important part of the public good, and therefore we hope our graduates will go into consulting and finance and banking and basically have the skill set needed to help guide those organizations to make wise choices so that we do have stable financial markets. We have candidates typically working for large organizations that you would expect that our candidates would work for, like the World Bank, like the IMF, like the United Nations, international relief organizations like the Red Cross. But again, all of these in great detail are listed in our OCA, our Office of Career Advancement Employment Report, which is available as a PDF document on our website, and it also breaks it down by program. So if you are interested in a particular degree, the statistics are segmented by degree. So if you're interested in the MPID program, you can see the statistics particularly for the MPID program. And for each of our programs, that is outlined.
Absolutely. There's wealth of information on Harvard Kennedy School's website. There will be many things that you probably have not thought about yet, but it'll help you when you go on the website and see those information. That will take, we're almost running out of time, but we have just two more questions. One is right here in the chat box that says, can a student who has been accepted to the MPP program apply for the JD with Harvard Law School in his first year at Harvard Kennedy School?
The answer to that question is yes.
Okay, great. And finally, there's a question that...
Sorry, I would definitely recommend, if a candidate is interested in a dual degree or a joint degree, my recommendation is that they apply to both programs at the same time. In reference to the law school, again, the answer to that question is yes. If it was the business school, the answer would be no. And so if a candidate has a particular question about a particular program, I encourage them to contact our office, and we can provide specific guidance.
Great. Okay, I think this is the last question I have, and it says, you spoke about good fit, and as I understand, it's a good fit for the applicants from the perspective of the school, and vice versa from the perspective of the applicant looking in the school. In this context, how do you view rankings?
Rankings in pertaining to what?
Well, I think they're referring to the ranking of the institutions, ranking of universities, and some of the students that come to Education USA centers, they also often speak about rankings, how relevant are they and should they consider or not. Newsweek ranking or Forbes ranking or US News Report rankings. So I think in the context of the good fit that you spoke about earlier in the presentation, how do you view rankings?
Okay, so we certainly will look at lists of schools. If a candidate is applying and we perhaps have not heard of the school that they're coming from, we have access to a database that lists the different universities in the world, and it's not necessarily a ranked database. It provides general information about the school. I will say each year we typically have over 500 different undergraduate institutions represented within our student body. And so we are not just looking for candidates from a certain tier of university or certain ranked universities. We consider diversity to be important in every aspect of the admission process, and that includes universities. We want to see, we get excited when we are able to admit a student who represents a university that we either rarely see or perhaps we have never seen. We consider that to be a positive thing. We want more representation from different places. When it comes to one of the previous questions was looking at how important is GPA. Sometimes we will give students a bit of a break, for example, if we know that the school that they attended is very competitive to get into, and the average GPAs coming out of that might be lower than another school. We will give that student perhaps a little bit more consideration in the admissions process as far as the lower GPA. We may not be as critical because we know the reputation of the college or the university. But in sum, I would say that we do not rely upon rankings. We do not consider that to be a driving force in the admissions process. We consider diversity to be very, very important, and we'd like to see candidates from different programs, and we will do research on programs that we have little knowledge of to learn more about them.
All right, great. Thank you, Matt. I think we'll have to conclude at that. We are totally out of time. And I want to remind our participant that if you have more questions, please post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/educationusa Delhi. You can also email it to us at educationusa@usies.org.in. We'll be happy to follow up on those questions. If our team here at Education USA is able to answer it, it'll be great. Otherwise, we'll follow up with Matt, who was with us today, and get those answers for you. And finally, this session is recorded. We will post it on our Facebook page, and we'll be happy to send you the link also if you email us more information, so that you can have a look at it again and go back to specific slide that you were more interested in. And I just wanted to thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. It was wonderful. I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm sure our students have benefited. Some 16 to 20 students logged in today, but I can tell you that many more, sometimes thousands of students actually watch webinars that we record and post, and some of the other information that we post slowly. It's hard to match the timing sometimes, but I'm sure this presentation will continue to benefit students, and we will probably use this sometime in our sessions also. I understand that it's hard for university to come in person and meet, and it's also equally hard for them to respond to all the questions, but this archiving helps really, it really helps all our students, not just students but also the parents and some of the school counselors and college counselors and placement cells that we work with. So we'll be happy to share it with them as well. And finally, I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate taking time for this.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody else. Have a good day.